When the physical body ceases to function and the silver cord that connects soul to body is severed, a profound journey begins, one that Cayce described through his remarkable readings while in trance states. This initial transition is perhaps the most misunderstood aspect of the afterlife experience, as the newly released soul often experiences a period of disorientation and confusion. In the first hours after physical death, the soul finds itself in a peculiar state of awareness. There is no sudden, dramatic shift into an entirely different realm as many imagine. Instead, the soul often remains closely connected to its former reality, observing the physical world it just departed. This is why many souls do not immediately realize they have crossed the threshold between worlds. The consciousness continues, uninterrupted. There is no sleep or period of unconsciousness unless the transition was particularly traumatic or the individual's beliefs strongly condition them to expect such an experience. For most souls, awareness simply shifts from physical to non-physical perception, though the full understanding of this transformation may take time. During these initial hours, the soul might witness its own physical death scene, observing medical professionals attempting resuscitation, family members grieving, or the discovery of the body. Yet despite seeing these events unfold, many souls experience a curious disconnect, unable to fully comprehend that they are witnessing their own physical departure. This is not a form of denial, but rather a natural response to an experience for which the conscious mind has no framework. This disorientation stems from several spiritual mechanisms. First, the soul retains its identity, memories, and personality structure immediately after transition. There is no instant transformation into an all-knowing being. The soul carries forward its earthly perspectives, limitations of understanding, and belief systems. Second, the soul continues to experience a form of body even after physical death. This etheric or astral form feels remarkably similar to the physical body in many ways, leading many souls to assume they still inhabit their physical form. They may attempt to communicate with loved ones, not understanding why they cannot be heard or seen. They might try to interact with physical objects, experiencing confusion when their hands seem to pass through solid matter. For souls strongly attached to physical existence, this period of disorientation can extend for what seems like days in Earth time. Those who were unprepared for death or who maintained rigid beliefs about the afterlife that do not align with the actual experience may struggle even longer to orient themselves to their new state of being. The soul's movement during this period remains largely within what esoteric traditions call the earth plane, a subtle vibrational state that overlaps with physical reality. This is not a separate place, but rather a different frequency of existence that interpenetrates physical reality. In this state, the soul can observe physical events, but cannot fully interact with them. Some souls report sensing a soft light in the distance during this initial phase, a gentle beacon that gradually becomes more noticeable as their awareness shifts away from earthly concerns. This light represents the first calling toward higher spiritual realms, though many souls are not immediately ready to move toward it. Interestingly, souls who practice meditation, contemplative prayer, or who cultivated awareness of non-physical realities during life often experience less disorientation during this phase. Their spiritual practices prepared them for the shift in consciousness that death requires. Similarly, those who lived with an awareness of life's impermanence typically navigate this transition with greater ease. For those who died suddenly or violently, this period may involve additional layers of confusion as the soul must process not only the transition itself, but also the traumatic circumstances surrounding the physical death. These souls may require additional assistance from guides and loved ones who have already crossed over. It is important to understand that this disorientation is not a punishment or negative judgment. It is simply a natural part of the soul's adjustment process. Just as a newborn must adjust to the physical world after birth, the soul must adjust to non-physical reality after death. This process happens in its own perfect timing for each individual soul. As the initial disorientation begins to subside, the soul enters perhaps the most profound phase of its early post-transition journey, the life review. Unlike popular depictions of judgment or punishment, this process unfolds as a deeply personal and compassionate examination of one's entire earthly existence. In the days following physical death, consciousness expands beyond linear time constraints, allowing the soul to access the complete tapestry of its incarnation. This review is not a simple chronological replay of events, but rather an immersive re-experiencing that transcends ordinary memory. During this phase, the soul perceives not only its actions, but also their ripple effects on others and the wider world. What makes this process particularly transformative is that the soul experiences these memories from multiple perspectives simultaneously. When revisiting an interaction with another person, the soul feels not only its own emotions and intentions from that moment, but also experiences the impact of its words and actions on the other being. This multidimensional awareness creates a profound understanding of cause and effect that transcends intellectual comprehension. The life review occurs in a space of unconditional love rather than judgment. This loving context is essential, as it allows the soul to face even its most painful mistakes without being crushed by shame or guilt. Instead, these difficult moments become opportunities for the deepest spiritual growth and understanding. The soul recognizes that its journey, with all its missteps and triumphs, was a sacred path of learning. During this review, time operates differently than in physical reality. What might seem like days or weeks of intensive examination can transpire in what would be merely moments of earth time. The soul may revisit thousands of interactions, choices, and experiences, each illuminated with new clarity and understanding. Nothing is rushed and nothing is overlooked, as each moment of the incarnation holds valuable wisdom. Interestingly, the review tends to focus less on external achievements or societal markers of success, and more on moments of genuine human connection, compassion, and growth. A simple act of kindness toward a stranger might receive more attention during this review than career accomplishments or material acquisitions. The soul discovers that the true measure of a life well lived lies in the quality of love expressed and wisdom gained. The process reveals patterns and themes that ran through the soul's incarnation, recurring lessons, soul contracts with other beings, and the higher purpose behind seemingly random events. Relationships are seen in their true spiritual context, often revealing soul connections that span multiple lifetimes. Even difficulties and challenges are recognized as purposeful catalysts for evolution, rather than random misfortunes. Throughout this review, the soul experiences a remarkable absence of self-deception. The ego's defensive mechanisms that operated during physical life no longer obscure the truth. There is nowhere to hide from oneself, yet paradoxically, this complete self-exposure brings liberation rather than shame. The soul recognizes that growth requires honest self-assessment, and that understanding is built into the very structure of the review process. For souls who lived with awareness and conscious intention, this review affirms their inner knowing and reveals the unseen positive impacts of their choices. For those who lived unconsciously or caused harm to others, the review provides essential understanding without condemnation. In all cases, the process serves the soul's highest good, illuminating the path forward. During this phase, many souls report encountering a presence of profound wisdom and compassion, what some traditions call the higher self, Christ consciousness, or universal mind. This presence does not judge, but rather holds space for the soul's own realization and integration of truth. Some experience this presence as a personified being of light, while others perceive it as an all-encompassing field of loving awareness. The life review also reveals the intricate web of soul agreements and spiritual purposes that underlay the incarnation. The soul recognizes how certain challenging relationships or difficult circumstances were actually prearranged opportunities for growth and balance. What seemed like accidents or coincidences during physical life are now revealed as meaningful synchronicities guided by higher wisdom. As this review progresses, the soul begins to release emotional attachments to earthly experiences, both positive and negative. This doesn't mean forgetting or devaluing these experiences, but rather seeing them in their proper cosmic context. Grievances that seemed monumental during physical life often dissolve in the light of expanded awareness, while small acts of love and connection are recognized for their eternal significance. The completion of this life review marks a critical threshold in the soul's journey. Having integrated the wisdom of its most recent incarnation, the soul now stands at a crossroads of greater choice and clarity. The patterns, lessons, and unresolved aspects revealed during the review will influence the soul's subsequent journey through the higher realms, and potentially its choices regarding future incarnations. This life review process aligns with what Cayce described as the soul confronting its own consciousness, not as punishment, but as the natural unfoldment of spiritual law. It is the soul's opportunity to fully harvest the wisdom from its earthly sojourn before continuing its eternal journey of evolution and return to source. As the life review reaches completion, the soul enters a phase of profound spiritual reconnection. During this third stage of the post-transition journey, the newly liberated consciousness experiences direct contact with spiritual guides, helpers, and loved ones who have preceded them into the non-physical realms. This reunion represents not merely a joyful meeting, but serves a critical function in the soul's continued evolution. When the physical body is shed, the soul's vibrational frequency naturally begins to shift. The dense, energetic patterns necessary for physical incarnation gradually dissolve, allowing the soul to perceive and interact with higher dimensional realities that were largely filtered out during embodied existence. As this perceptual shift occurs, spiritual beings who resonate at these higher frequencies become increasingly visible and accessible to the transitioning soul. The nature and identity of these guides vary according to the soul's spiritual development, belief system, and cosmic connections. For some, the first beings encountered are beloved family members or friends who passed earlier, familiar presences offering comfort during this profound transition. For others, guides may appear as radiant beings of light, spiritual teachers from past incarnations, or angelic presences that have overseen the soul's journey across multiple lifetimes. These guides do not appear randomly, but arrive in perfect divine timing. During the initial disorientation and life review phases, the soul generally requires space to process its transition and integrate the wisdom of its recent incarnation. Premature intervention could interrupt these essential processes. The guides appear when the soul has sufficiently adjusted to non-physical reality and is ready for assistance with the next phase of its journey. Communication with these guides transcends the limitations of earthly language. Thoughts, emotions, and complex concepts transfer instantaneously through a form of telepathic communion. In this state, misunderstanding becomes nearly impossible as the soul perceives not just the information being shared, but also the loving intention and wider context behind it. This perfect communication creates a profound sense of being truly seen, known, and understood, perhaps for the first time since the soul left its spiritual home to incarnate. The guides serve multiple functions during this critical phase. First, they provide orientation to the soul's new state of being, explaining the nature of the realms it now inhabits and the expanded capabilities of its consciousness. Many souls report receiving instruction on how to adapt to non-physical existence, learning to move, communicate, and create through intention rather than physical action. Second, these guides offer healing for any trauma or distress associated with the death transition or unresolved emotional patterns carried from the recent incarnation. This healing occurs not through external intervention, but through the guides helping the soul access its own innate healing capacities, which were always present but often obscured during physical existence. Third, and perhaps most importantly, the guides help the soul contextualize its recent life experience within the broader journey of its eternal evolution. They assist in interpreting the lessons revealed during the life review, highlighting patterns across multiple incarnations and clarifying the soul's current developmental focus. This expanded perspective allows the soul to see how even its most painful experiences served its growth and the greater cosmic unfoldment. It is important to understand that these guides never impose direction or override the soul's free will. Rather, they function as loving counselors, offering wisdom while respecting the soul's sovereignty. The relationship is collaborative rather than hierarchical, though the guides typically possess a broader perspective due to their more expanded state of consciousness. For souls that held strong religious convictions during physical life, guides often appear in forms aligned with those beliefs, as angels, saints, or divine figures from their tradition. This accommodation is not deception, but rather compassionate meeting of the soul where it is, providing familiar reference points during a profound transition. As the soul continues to expand, its perception of these guides may evolve to reveal their true essence beyond specific religious iconography. During this phase, many souls also reconnect with their soul groups, or spiritual families, clusters of souls with whom they share deep cosmic connections across multiple incarnations. These reunions often carry a quality of homecoming, as the soul recognizes beings with whom it has traveled, learned, and grown throughout its eternal journey. Such reconnections help the soul remember its broader identity beyond the single lifetime just completed. The guidance received during this phase is not limited to spiritual matters, but may include practical assistance regarding earthly concerns the soul left behind. Guides may help the transitioning soul understand how to communicate with or send healing energy to loved ones still in physical form. They may also assist with releasing attachments to unfinished business, property, or responsibilities that can no longer be directly influenced from the soul's new state of being. For souls that served as spiritual teachers, healers, or guides during their physical incarnation, this phase may include orientation to new forms of service they can offer from the non-physical realms. Such souls often quickly assume roles assisting others through the death transition or supporting the spiritual growth of those still incarnate on Earth. The duration of this guidance phase varies widely depending on the soul's needs and developmental stage. Some souls require extensive support and teaching before they are ready to move toward higher vibrational states, while others, particularly those who maintain spiritual awareness during physical life, may move through this phase relatively quickly, eager to continue their cosmic journey. Cayce's readings emphasize that the nature of guidance received correlates directly with the quality of consciousness the soul cultivated during physical life. Those who lived with compassion, spiritual awareness, and conscious intention naturally attract guides of corresponding wisdom and light. Souls that remained entangled in lower vibrational patterns of fear, hatred, or materialism may initially connect with guides of more limited perspective, before gradually opening to higher guidance as their consciousness expands. This phase of guidance represents a critical juncture in the soul's eternal journey, a sacred space of remembering, reconnection, and reorientation. With loving assistance, the soul gradually reclaims awareness of its true nature and cosmic purpose beyond the identity it temporarily assumed during physical incarnation. As this remembering deepens, the soul becomes increasingly ready to journey through the higher dimensional realms that await. As the soul becomes more acclimated to non-physical existence through the loving guidance of spiritual helpers, it begins a remarkable journey through increasingly refined layers of reality. This fourth phase of the post-death experience involves the soul's gradual ascension through what esoteric traditions call the astral planes, vibrational realms that exist beyond physical perception, yet are structured according to universal spiritual principles. The astral planes are not physical locations in space, but rather states of consciousness organized in a hierarchical spectrum from dense to refined vibrations. Each level corresponds to particular qualities of awareness, with lower planes reflecting more limited, ego-centered states, and higher planes embodying expanded consciousness, harmony, and spiritual insight. During the first week after transition, the soul typically begins to navigate these realms, moving naturally toward the vibrational level that matches its own spiritual development. This movement between planes occurs not through physical travel, but through shifts in the soul's own vibrational frequency. As the soul releases denser emotional patterns and limited perspectives revealed during the life review, its natural vibration elevates, allowing it to perceive and inhabit more refined realms. This process can be understood as the soul shedding the accumulated energetic weight of physical existence layer by layer, gradually revealing its true luminous nature. The lower astral planes, which the soul may traverse first, contain thought forms and emotional patterns reflecting more earthbound states of consciousness, desires, attachments, fears, and beliefs tied to physical existence. Some souls may briefly experience these realms as they process and release remaining attachments to their recently completed incarnation. However, souls that maintained spiritual awareness during physical life often move through these lower planes quickly, drawn naturally toward higher vibrations. As the soul ascends to middle astral levels, it encounters increasingly harmonious environments that reflect more expanded states of consciousness. These realms appear as beautiful landscapes, gardens, or gathering places where souls of similar development commune and learn together. The environments themselves are not solid or fixed, as in the physical world, but are responsive to thought, appearing differently to each soul according to its expectations and spiritual understanding. In these middle realms, many souls discover they can create through the direct power of thought and intention. What required physical effort and materials on Earth now manifests through focused consciousness. This creative capacity is not merely for entertainment, but serves as an important learning tool as the soul discovers the creative power inherent in its thoughts and emotions. A power that was always present, but more hidden during physical incarnation. For souls that developed specific talents, interests, or areas of service during physical life, these middle astral planes offer opportunities to continue and expand this expression. Musicians may join with others to create transcendent harmonies impossible in the physical realm. Healers may learn more advanced techniques working with subtle energies. Teachers may share wisdom with receptive souls, both discarnate and incarnate. This continuity of purpose provides meaningful activity during the soul's continuing evolution. As the soul progresses to higher astral planes during this first week, the environments become increasingly characterized by light, harmony, and a palpable sense of divine presence. Form becomes less defined and more fluid, consciousness more expansive, and the separation between individual souls less distinct, while paradoxically preserving each soul's unique essence. These higher planes embody what various spiritual traditions have attempted to describe as heavenly realms, states of profound beauty, peace, and communion with divine reality. Throughout this ascension process, the soul does not move in a strictly linear fashion, but may flow between different vibrational states as needed for its integration and healing. A soul might temporarily return to a lower plane to process specific lessons or emotional patterns before continuing its upward journey. This movement is not regression, but rather reflects the soul's wisdom in addressing all aspects of its being with compassion and thoroughness. It is important to understand that this astral journey is not determined by external judgment, but by the natural laws of spiritual resonance. The soul is drawn to the vibrational level that matches its own state of development, not as punishment or reward, but as the natural expression of its authentic being. Souls of similar vibration naturally gather in communities or soul groups where they can support each other's continued evolution through shared learning and service. During this astral transition, some souls may encounter what esoteric traditions call guardians of the threshold, not fearsome entities as sometimes portrayed in mythology, but rather aspects of the soul's own higher consciousness that ensure it has fully integrated necessary lessons before ascending to more refined states. These guardians might present the soul with unresolved patterns from its recent life, or across multiple incarnations, offering opportunity for final healing and release before further ascension. For souls strongly attached to religious frameworks, the astral planes may initially appear in forms aligned with their expectations, as the heavens, paradise gardens, or celestial kingdoms described in their traditions. This perceptual filtering is not illusion, but rather a compassionate accommodation that allows the soul to integrate its experience through familiar conceptual frameworks. As the soul continues to expand, its perception gradually reveals the universal spiritual principles underlying these personalized manifestations. The speed of a soul's journey through these astral planes during the first week varies tremendously based on its spiritual development. Souls that maintained higher awareness during physical life may rapidly ascend to very refined planes, while those more entangled in material consciousness may require extended periods in lower or middle realms for processing and integration. This variance explains the different accounts of the afterlife experience reported through various spiritual channels and near-death experiences. Cayce's readings emphasize that souls are never trapped or permanently bound to any astral level. Divine love ensures that all souls eventually find their way to higher states of consciousness, though the journey may be more direct or more circuitous, depending on the choices made during physical life and after transition. Even souls temporarily dwelling in lower astral states due to fixed beliefs or unresolved patterns receive continuous opportunities for awakening and ascension. During this astral transition, the soul retains connection with the physical dimension, particularly in the early stages. This explains why newly transitioned souls can sometimes communicate with or briefly appear to loved ones still in physical form. As the soul ascends to higher planes, direct communication with the physical world generally becomes less frequent, though the soul may still send love, guidance, and healing energy through thought and intention. By the end of the first week after physical death, most souls have established themselves within the astral plane that corresponds to their level of spiritual development, having created or joined communities of like-minded souls where they will continue their evolution. This spiritual home base serves as a center for continued learning, service, and preparation for either higher spiritual ascension or, in some cases, eventual reincarnation for further Earth experiences. This journey through the astral planes represents not an end, but rather a new beginning, a continuation of the soul's eternal evolution toward ever greater awareness of its divine nature and connection with all that is. The experiences of the first week merely set the foundation for the magnificent journey that continues beyond our limited earthly perception of time and space. As the soul establishes itself within the appropriate astral plane during this crucial first week, it experiences a profound spectrum of emotional responses to its new state of being. These emotions are not separate from spiritual reality, but are integral aspects of the soul's processing and integration. Understanding these emotional dynamics illuminates why souls progress at different rates and make varying choices about their ongoing journey. The emotional landscape of the post-transition soul is far more nuanced than earthly emotions, encompassing multiple dimensions of awareness simultaneously. What might appear as a single emotion in physical life, such as joy or regret, expands into a complex tapestry of interconnected feelings, insights, and energetic responses. These expanded emotions serve as transformative forces, catalyzing the soul's continued evolution rather than simply reflecting its state. Many souls experience profound relief upon fully realizing their liberation from physical limitations. The absence of pain, illness, aging, and material constraints creates an expansive sense of freedom that may initially overwhelm the consciousness with gratitude and wonder. This liberation often triggers remembrance of the soul's broader identity beyond the recently completed incarnation, a homecoming to its more expansive nature that had been partially forgotten during physical embodiment. Conversely, souls strongly identified with their physical existence may experience a form of grief or longing for the tangibility and sensory experiences of embodiment. This attachment is neither wrong nor unexpected, but represents part of the soul's natural adjustment process. Spiritual guides assist such souls in remembering the richer, more subtle sensations and creative capacities available in non-physical states, gradually transforming this longing into appreciation for their new expanded reality. For souls that maintain significant relationships during physical life, emotional responses often center around these connections. There may be concern for loved ones still incarnate, particularly if the death was sudden or occurred during challenging circumstances. The soul may feel a pull toward these connections, desiring to communicate reassurance or complete unfinished emotional business. This concern gradually transforms as the soul recognizes its continued ability to send love and healing energy across dimensional boundaries, even without physical proximity. During this emotional integration phase, the prayers, thoughts, and emotional states of those still in physical form have tangible effects on the transitioning soul. When loved ones direct genuine love, acceptance, and peaceful thoughts toward the departed, these energies create supportive currents that assist the soul's upward journey. Conversely, excessive grief, anger, or refusal to accept the transition can create energetic tethers that temporarily make it more difficult for the soul to fully engage with its new state of being. This influence works in both directions. As the soul processes its transition, it may send waves of comfort, inspiration, or healing toward those it loves. Many still in physical form report sensing these communications through dreams, intuitive impressions, synchronicities, or sudden emotional shifts. These exchanges create sacred bridges between realms, confirming the unbroken continuity of consciousness and love beyond physical death. One of the most transformative emotional processes during this period involves the soul's relationship with its own mistakes, limitations, and unresolved patterns from physical life. Having experienced the life review and received loving guidance, the soul now begins deeper integration of these lessons. This process involves neither harsh self-judgment nor dismissive self-forgiveness, but rather a profound, compassionate understanding of its own evolutionary journey. For souls that cause significant harm during physical life, this emotional processing includes genuine remorse, not as punishment, but as the natural response of an awakening consciousness, recognizing the full impact of its actions. This remorse becomes transformative when embraced within the context of divine love, gradually transmuting into commitment to healing, restitution, and more conscious choices moving forward. No soul is defined permanently by its mistakes, as the very structure of spiritual reality ensures opportunities for redemption and growth. As these emotional processes unfold, the soul gradually gains clarity about its next phase of development. By the conclusion of the first week, most souls face what could be called a conscious choice point regarding their continued journey. This choice is not made in isolation, but in consultation with guides and the soul's own higher wisdom. The options available correlate directly with the soul's level of spiritual development and the lessons revealed during its life review. Some souls choose to remain in closer proximity to the earth plane for a period, particularly if they have specific service to offer loved ones still incarnate or unfinished spiritual business connected to their recent life. This choice does not indicate failure to progress, but rather reflects the soul's commitment to completing certain aspects of its work before moving to higher states. Such souls may serve as guides for those still in physical form, appearing in dreams or providing intuitive guidance during times of need. Other souls, having integrated the essential lessons of their recent incarnation, choose to move toward more expanded states of consciousness in the higher spiritual realms. This progression involves further releasing of limiting perspectives and the gradual dissolution of the personality structure that served during physical life. The individualized consciousness does not disappear, but rather expands to embrace its connection with broader fields of awareness and divine reality. For souls with continuing lessons to learn through physical experience, this choice point may involve preparation for eventual reincarnation. However, immediate reincarnation is rare, as most souls benefit from extended periods in the spiritual realms to fully integrate the wisdom of their completed life before undertaking another physical journey. The decision to reincarnate is never imposed, but represents the soul's own recognition of its continuing evolutionary needs. The choices made at this juncture reflect the soul's authentic vibration and wisdom rather than external judgment. Cayce emphasized that divine love respects the soul's free will while simultaneously providing the optimal conditions for its continued growth. Even choices that might appear as delays or detours from an outside perspective serve the soul's ultimate unfoldment in divine timing. Throughout these emotional processes and choice points, the soul experiences increasing awareness of what various traditions call the divine presence, God, source, or universal consciousness. This is not a distant deity, but the very ground of being from which the soul itself emerged. As the soul releases denser emotional patterns and limited perspectives, this connection with Source becomes more palpable, not as an external relationship, but as recognition of its own essential nature. By the conclusion of this first critical week, the soul has typically established sufficient orientation to its new state of being to move forward with greater clarity and purpose. The disorientation of the initial transition has resolved. The wisdom of the life review has been integrated, loving guidance has been received, appropriate vibrational realms have been accessed, and emotional responses have been processed into greater understanding. The soul now stands at the threshold of its continuing eternal journey, having successfully navigated the profound transition from physical to spiritual existence. What occurs beyond this first week extends far beyond our limited human conception of time and experience. The soul's journey continues through ever-expanding realms of consciousness, service, creativity, and communion with divine reality. Yet the processes established during this initial transition create the foundation for all that follows, a sacred passage that each soul will eventually navigate in its return to the fullness of spiritual awareness from which it originally emerged. If these insights into the soul's journey after death resonated with you, take a moment to subscribe to our channel. Your comments and questions fuel our exploration of spiritual truths. What experiences have you or loved ones had that connect with these teachings? Share below and join our growing community of seekers. Remember, awareness is the first step toward conscious transition when your time comes. Subscribe now for weekly spiritual wisdom that transforms how you view life, death, and everything in between.